Hi, I'm Courtney, and I'm going to be discussing Bloome's article that argues reading is a social process, and then comparing that with Miss Brohard's class activity of Keep It and Junk It, and how she really gets at a lot of his points in his theory. So first, I'm going to first mention Bloome's argument that reading is a social process, and he mentions that students structure social interaction with their reading, and there are many different ways to target this in a reading activity, and every student does it differently. They all come from a different culture, and they all have a different way of engaging with their reading and taking it in a social perspective and how it relates to them. And there are different ways to interact with reading that Bloome mentions, like round robin reading, random reading, calling on random students, silent reading, how students read and when they read, if they read 2 lines, if they read a paragraph. There are a lot of different ways to engage in reading as a social process. And Ms. Brohard really gets at this in the sense that she has the students first read the article and identify what they think are the key points. From there, they go to smaller groups, and that really empowers students to talk about what they actually took from the article without being intimidated by a larger group. So all of the students then put together a comprehensive list of what they all thought their key points were. From there, they go to a bigger group, and then from there, everyone talks about whether they should keep a word or junk a word. Bloome also argues that there's social status involved with reading. You know, some might be better readers, some are slower, some get called on, some are more quiet. And Miss Brohard kind of gets into this where she has team leaders every class activity. So everyone gets a chance to be a leader, and everyone participates. So everyone has to vote whether keep it or junk it. And then the students call on each other and give them a chance to argue why they think a word is important or not as important. So Ms. Brohard really gets at a lot of what Bloome is arguing, that reading is a social process and allows students to engage in those social interactions to better understand their reading. And, you know, a student might notice something that someone else did. They might not notice it until someone else brings it up, like, oh, I had this word, but you had this word, and I actually really like that one better, or that one might be more important to answer our group question. So those social interactions can really help students pick apart a reading better. Bloome also argues that reading is a socio-cognitive process, so going along with the social aspect that he mentions before, but then also bringing in that cognitive piece, that students need to read more than just words on a paper and get it done. Ms. Brohard mentioned that she noticed that students thought every word was important when they first read it, like they were highlighting everything. So she thought, okay, we need to do something that really everyone gets to participate and really pull apart what the most important pieces are and how it pertains to what we're reading in this section. So Bloome argues that children learn appropriate ways of interacting with their material. And, you know, a student might get a reading and not know how to comprehend it. They might not understand the purpose of it or what the main ideas are. So Ms. Brohard, with that in mind, created this Keep It or Junk It activity to help students engage with other people, but then also get at what are the most important pieces so that they can really remember important parts from that chapter they're reading, and then how it relates to their future lessons. Ms. Brohard also mentions it's important for students to know how they're going to use this information. She gives an example of indentured servants and how she doesn't think that the students really know what that means. So she has this separate activity to where they talk about what it means and then again why it's important. So Bloome brings up some really important pieces of reading as social and cognitive process, and then Ms. Brohard really gets into those with her activity of Keep It and Junk It.